Bat Force Radio.
Bat Force Radio is rated M for mature. Or should that be immature?
Hey guys, Dustin Nguyen.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Bat Force Radio. The Halloween season may be over, but we are stubbornly clinging to the darker side of comics because it's just fun. At the roundtable this week, we've got Dunk in New York.
What's up?
Bat Force Tom in California.
Cheers, guys.
And I'm Robin Cross in Canada. Okay, so for a moment, imagine a Don Bluth-style Disney-looking story about a house full of happy puppies living their happy puppy lives together. Now, add into that story a violent murderer who pried those puppies away from the dead hands of their owners after he viciously sent them to the unknown blackness of the afterlife, and the ensuing struggle of these puppies to not suffer the same fate as their former owners. This is the premise of Stray Dogs, a massively popular 5-issue miniseries from Image Comics, and one of the very best comics of the year. If you have not read it already, go pick it up. Joining us this week to discuss Stray Dogs and the upcoming follow-up Dog Days coming on December 29th are its creators, Tony Fleecs and Trish Forstner.
What an intro.
Right?
I have real chills.
That's better than what we usually do. I love it.
It's the only thing that we get right from here on. It's going to be a train wreck.
That was great. Hey, Tom, where are you in California?
I am in just east of LA, just as you pass over into the 909, San Bernardino County. Yeah,
I'm in North Hollywood.
Oh yeah, okay, you're super close by. I used to live out in like the Pasadena area.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Well, thanks guys for taking the time to be here. As we were just saying, it's been a crazy past year for both of you. Did you guys expect the reception that Stray Dogs got?
Yeah. I mean, everybody expects their cartoon murder comic is going to sell over 100,000 copies.
It just those of us who follow any, I don't know if we want to call them indie, like Images right up there as one of the big publishers these days, but anyone who follows anything outside of Marvel and DC tended to know that this was coming, but a lot of the casuals were kind of smacked in the face by this book that was just outselling everything.
Yeah, no, seriously, we were super surprised. Like we said it before, but like we were just hoping to have people keep buying it through issue 3, so that we would have enough money from the sales 1 through 3 to make it to the end of 5. Like we didn't expect people to like it. I mean, we hope people would like it, but we didn't expect people to turn out and buy it in the numbers that they did.
Yeah, I think you did everything right to keep people interested, as opposed to typical stories that are, most comics are about humans. If you're telling a story with animals rather than humans, draws different emotions out of people, right? If you're reading a book and it starts off about a human character, you don't have any attachment to that character until you get to know them and you're given a reason to care about them. But when it's a story about a pet, you care about that pet from page 1.
Yeah, it's sort of cheating. Like we got to skip all the parts where we have to make you like the characters that you should like them already because Trish draws them so adorably.
Yeah, but
so goddamn cute.
You still did give us that moment of peril at the beginning. We're introduced to Sophie while she's at the vet and she's super afraid of getting a shot. So yeah, you still did those moments to draw people in.
Relatable.
Yeah, it's kind of like
especially now.
Something like that. It's like, for anyone who owns pets, like the first thing I saw was a cover and I was like, oh, there's dogs on the cover. That's pretty neat. And I'm like, oh, wait, that's the homage to a horror cover. Ooh, I like horror. And I remember telling Trish this over at Baltimore Comic Con. I was like, I picked up the covers because of the art, and all the way to issue 5, I picked up as many covers as I can because the art was just phenomenal. There was dogs and horror, 2 things that everyone should love. And then I was told to read the story, and I was like, I failed. I should have been reading this from the beginning.
You got off light then. Like I talked to people that have read it when it was coming out, and we put serious cliffhangers in it that you didn't have to wait a month for it.
Yeah, you didn't have to wait through that period between 3 and 4.
Ugh.
Good for
That's
me.
a tough one.
Yeah,
I had to wait through those cliffhangers, but I had the benefit of I work in a comic shop, so I get the benefit of also speaking to other people who are forced to wait between those. So I'm not suffering alone.
Yeah, like a support group.
Yeah, exactly. We all sit around in a circle and talk about how horrible the 2 of you are being to us.
But there were still people who wanted us to do this for like 20 issues, and I was just like, wow, that would be really cold of us to have to do this for 20 issues.
Yeah.
When
I think
go right ahead.
I was going to say the way that it read was perfect in, I think, the 5 issues. It's like it just felt like the perfect story, and I couldn't imagine having to wait through every single issue like that, because everything just kind of pops and hits you quick. And I remember reading it and I was just, okay, next one. Like it's nothing that you don't want to put it down. You want to keep going because it is suspenseful. And I think it's perfect. It's perfect the way it was. Going 20 issues on the one story would be, difficult for you guys, I'm sure. So it was like the perfect amount of everything, really. Like, yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
It was just like I remember I was thinking there was like when the trade came out, and my local comic shop was like, I'm like, oh, I'm buying the trade. And they're like, have you even read it yet? And I was like, no. And they're like, well, you got to read it. I'm like, well, that's why I'm buying the trade, and I'm like, is it going to be a second volume? Because I had no idea. It was just 5 issues. And they were like, no, that's it. And I was like, no way. Like, there's no way that this is just 5 issues. Because I just picked up like about, 20 comic books just for Stray Dogs for the last like 4 months. And this is just one trade. This has to be good. And the one lady at my comic shop, she was like, you have no idea how good this is. And she's like, once you get to the 3rd part, don't get mad. Just keep on reading. And then I did. And I've read it about 4 times. And it's just so well put together along with the art and the writing. And it's like, all right, cool. We got to see this on the big screen. But yeah, I'm like, such a great story.
No, thank you. Yeah, we plotted it out as tightly as possible, just because, like we said earlier, like we didn't expect it to be a huge hit or anything. We just wanted to. It was all about making the readers want to come back every issue, and so sometimes I get to the end of a comic and it just is like, that's the end of the comic, and then there's other books you read where you get to the end and you're like, oh shit, I got to read the next one immediately. And we really worked to make Stray Dogs one of those oh shit comics rather than just the one where it's like the end. So like I would look at like Brian K. Vaughan comics and Kirkman comics and like people that really know how to do serialized storytelling where it's not just about doing a chapter, it's about doing a single piece that makes you want to have the next piece.
It's you also mentioned in the like the letter area or the back parts of the issues where you had a think tank of friends that you would kind of pitch ideas to back and forth. What was that like, and what were the kind of areas that you were maybe like, was it the dog culture? Because I feel like when you're reading it, you really like, that was great. Like, the whole short-term memory thing, made a lot of sense with the dogs and how they don't remember everything. And it makes sense as to how a dog can go one day through the other and not remember really terrible things. But when you're pitching ideas back and forth, like, was it like the serial killer aspect? Like, what ideas were you trying to pull, and what ideas were you kind of getting from friends? Because it's like a multi-layered book, and on the surface it might seem that it's simple, but there's a lot of layers. You know, there's like the killer aspect, there's the dog culture aspect, and so there's a lot of things that any one of these fans, like a dog fan or like a horror fan, would like complain about, like, if you're not getting it right. But you did a really good job, I feel, of like combining these two things into one book. So what were the kind of things that you were like looking for help?
So basically what it was when I had the idea, I had a pretty clear idea of like what the beginning was and what the ending was, and like the twist in the first issue, I knew exactly what that was. And then I knew some things happened in the middle, but it was just about like outlining it and then talking to people and getting just like bouncing ideas back and forth. I'm thinking about this. What do you think about this? So like, you guys are Batman podcast, so you probably know Kyle Higgins, who did like Nightwing for years. He's a good buddy of mine, and he was actually instrumental in helping us get the book to Image, because he was a big fan of the idea and he just wanted to help us out, you know, any way that he could. So he like walked it right up to Eric Stevenson at Image. But yeah, me and him sat down and like went to lunch. And just, I went through the whole outline and then had a notebook out and would just take notes when he would say like, what about this? Or like, here's questions I have. So it's just about like poking all the holes in it that you could. And then I had another friend, Dennis Culver, who's also a Batman guy. He's doing the Future State Gotham right now.
Yeah, and I think, is he doing the next Joker?
Yeah, that's the next issue of that. FOC today. Shout out. Or this week. And he's doing the multiverse Justice League thing soon with Josh Williamson. But he was really good at the dog stuff you're talking about. Like he really was like annoyingly specific about like what dogs would know and what they wouldn't know, you know? And so like there's one point in the book where like Aldo went to the dog park with the master, and he says like he took his click box and he made a picture of a lady. Because I was just like, he took a camera out and took a picture of a lady, and he's just like, dogs don't know what a camera is. And I was like, all right, I guess so. But there's like, he would poke holes in that stuff all the time. And that was like 50-60% of the time I'd go like, all right, that's right. But then other times I'm just like, look, we just have to have the dogs say that they know.
Suspend some disbelief here.
Yeah.
Was he the one who kept saying like dogs wouldn't say God? Like,
yeah, we got some of that too. Like the dogs say, "Oh my God,"
say, "Oh my God," or you know, or "goddamn" or whatever, and they wouldn't say that because they don't know, they don't have a concept of God.
yeah.
Oh man,
pretty deep.
Yeah,
but we sort of settled on the idea that like the personalities that the dogs have come from who their owners were. It's sort of like a nature nurture thing. Yeah. So like it's not like they speak human language, but like you can imagine like what Gucci's owner was like from what Gucci's like, or you can imagine like what kind of house like Roxanne came from, or Killer, or whatever. So we just sort of could skate the line on dog stuff that dog would know from that. But yeah, I went to like notes meetings with a bunch of writer friends or just like creator friends that I trust, and because we wanted to make sure it was as tight as possible, I just sort of, before we sat down and actually wrote the scripts, I went and got as many holes poked in the thing as possible. And then on issue 4, like the big horrible thing that happens in issue 4 was sort of a question mark up until when we were working on it, because it was just like in the outline it just says something horrible happens, and we had a whole other like a whole other storyline where like the master brings a new puppy home, and then the dogs piece it together that means he's killed again, and you know, but it just wasn't like, it was cool to have a new puppy,
and it would have been a cool thing, but I think it would have added like a whole nother issue.
Yeah. And it wasn't as visceral as what we ended up doing. Like you had to actually see something awful to kick off that last chase at the end.
Yeah, man.
One of the things I do want to talk about is the juxtaposition of the very, the innocent, that pure art style versus the darkness of the subject matter. But I would like to get to that through the scope of your own origin stories. either one of you can go first, but I just want to get into how both of you made your way to art, like how you found art. What was that thing at whatever point in your life that made you decide that you wanted to create?
I've just always drawn things. I always liked to draw things, mostly cartoon characters, mostly things that were outside of reality, like most kids, messed up childhood. So find outlet through art. That's what I did. And
Yeah,
it just kind of went from there.
I was the same. I would draw cartoon characters as a kid. I had a cousin that could like draw the cartoons off the TV, and I thought it was like he was doing a magic trick. Watch Garfield and Friends, and he could just draw Odie, and I would just be like, gosh, it's like
You're a wizard.
So yeah, I would sit around. I had come from a big family, and so there wasn't enough attention to go around all the time, and so I would just sort of find my little sketchbook and find an area to just hang out and draw, and would do that. And having a lot of younger brothers and sisters. Oh, sorry, Trish, go ahead.
That would be me. Every holiday party, they'd be like, "Where's Trish?" Well, Pat at the time. Where's Pat? In a corner somewhere, drawing.
Yeah,
just
same.
Chilling.
But I had younger brothers and sisters, so I watched cartoons longer than like anyone else my age did, just because that was what was going on at the house. So I have like a deep well of cartoon history inside of my brain, and then that's what I ended up being interested in. Like I wanted to either be an animator or be a comic book artist, and so I was just obsessed with like all the 90s animation, like the Disney stuff and the Don Bluth stuff and Fox, and then later DreamWorks and all that stuff.
Amblin and all the big boys from our era. My favorites were Bluth. I liked like the Chipmunk Adventure was where a lot of animators that I really love started, and it was like 900 different artists drawing these same couple of characters, so you could tell scene to scene who was drawing what. It was really cool to learn over time. But I loved animation, so that's where my kind of input to this came from. Was that I would draw from that. I would say, hey, in animation, it would look differently. So our book kind of looks like it would be animation style, like old timey. The characters don't have shading on them, or if they do, it's very minimal, like a color wash or something like that. Not like deep comic book shading. So it's very uniquely different.
So did either of you do the the art school path, or you just saw where you wanted to go and found your own way to that goal?
No art school here.
Yeah, I went to art school, but I went for a completely different thing than I ended up doing. I went for like computer animation, and then I ended up getting a job as a graphic designer for like 6 years right out of art school, and sort of like that's where a lot of the horror covers, like the design on those is very we try to make it as perfect as possible, and a lot of that is just tricks I picked up as a graphic designer. And then I got into comics in about 2000. Well, my first book came out in 2006, and I would say that I started actually working, like making a full living in comics, about 10 years ago in 2010.
And when it came to this project, how did the two of you come together?
Well, I'd been working on My Little Pony since 2012, the IDW's My Little Pony books. And that was like...
For anyone who doesn't know, I'll just cut in there for a second. A lot of our listeners are probably not My Little Pony readers, but both Tony and Trish have done a lot of My Little Pony work.
Hey, you'd be surprised, man.
Yeah, just so you guys are up to speed.
But
the Batman Pony contingent is not strong here on this podcast.
We're not sure. We'll see. We'll find out afterwards if we get a big pop after this episode. Oh man, I feel so listened to.
I feel seen.
Yeah, about time.
My worlds are colliding.
But we worked on. I worked on My Little Pony from 2012 until. I mean, I still sort of work on it. We're just so busy with Stray Dogs that I'm not doing anything right now. But the ponies, aside from having like a big kids audience, and like a lot of the people that I see who buy their comics in the comic shop, and I see at conventions, like comic conventions, are people with their kids, and their kids, like some of them like learn to read from our comics, or something. Like I see people who read Stray Dogs now who used to read our pony comics. So years on that book. But the other side of it is there's bronies, which are like adult fans of My Little Pony, and they have their own conventions. And so like there's this whole other world of like it's like a whole other income stream. Like I did Comic Cons, and then all of a sudden I could also do My Little Pony Cons, where it's just like, oh, this changes my whole dynamic, my whole situation. And I met Trish at a My Little Pony Con, and she worked at BronyCon, which is like the biggest one for like 7 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked there for like 7 years on the design team. It was really cool. We made a lot of cool signage and made sure that the convention was easy to read for people to, that came. But yeah, I also got my start in comics for My Little Pony. My first published covers were with My Little Pony. And yeah, met Tony, worked my way in through the ranks of guestdom, and somehow he wanted to talk to me, so it was really cool.
But aside from just doing signage, like at these conventions, the people in the art department will draw up like pony versions of the creators that are coming to the shows, or the voice actors, the actors, or whatever. And so Trish had actually drawn me as a pony, before we even met. Like she came up to the table one time and was like, "Here's this thing I drew of you." I was just like, "What is this?" It was so cool. And she would draw all kinds of cool stuff, and then she would set up at the show too and sell her own pony drawings and her own art books and stuff like that. And one of the art books had this drawing she had done of a dog of hers that had passed away, but it was like all dogs go to heaven drawing of her dog. And when I had the idea for this book, I was thinking about like, I don't want to draw it myself. I want to find somebody who draws in a more even more animated style than me, who would be good for that. And then I just remembered that drawing from that sketchbook, and then I reached out to Trish.
Damn, so it's like, that's so crazy how like that's just kind of like, oh yeah, we'll just hit her up and then we'll start this book, and then boom, 100,000 copies later.
You think it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the graphic design background being a tool for doing all of those different covers. Where did the idea come from to make all of these horror movie poster covers, like to make it a thing?
So there's a retailer that I'm friends with who has these shops called Collector's Paradise out here in California, in Greenberg. And he was a big fan of the book. He had like taken me to Comics Pro, which is like a...
Oh, do we have hang on 1 second. Hold that. There
Tony
it is.
the pony.
Tony the pony, look at that.
Pony
That's
Fleecs.
awesome.
So handsome. His name is Pony Fleecs. I do know.
I like the tattoo on his butt.
Yeah, I've got the same one.
Yeah, figured.
There it is. Beautiful.
The good days.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Ed had said, you got to do these movie covers for this book. You should, because like at the time Ice Cream Man was doing them and Bitterroot was doing them. Okay. And he was like, these books, like they sell like crazy.
Yeah.
And he was like, you should do, because it's like an animated style thing, you should do like, animated style covers, do like Lady and the Tramp and Oliver and Company and All Those Go to Heaven and stuff like that. And I was like, at first I was against it just because I was like, well, we worked really hard to make this cool thing that sort of stands on its own, and then I was just sort of kicking the idea around at my studio. Again, Dennis Culver, my studio mate who works on that Future State Gotham, was like, don't be stupid. If you do it, you should do horror movies, because it already looks like a cartoon. Like, you don't have to say it's a cartoon. Like, it looks like a cartoon. so do horror movie covers, and I was like, oh, it's interesting, but I still wasn't into it. And then I talked to Image about it, and Kat Salazar at Image, the PR person, was like, that's actually really like a really smart thing to do, because the trouble of this book is telling people it looks like it's a cartoon, but it's actually horror. And if you just show them, like Dunk said, like you saw it, it looked like a cartoon and it looked like horror. Like that's what the sort of what we got to do without having anybody have to pitch it or anything like that, is you just see it and you know it's a cartoon horror just because it looks like Silence of the Lambs or it looks like Pet Sematary or whatever.
Genius. Yeah. Shout out to Collector's Paradise. That used to be my shop when I was in Pasadena, the Pasadena store. I know they got one out in Winnetka and in North Hollywood too. So man, I miss that. And then I miss them, man.
They did variants for all of our books, so they've got a Exorcist one and an Alien cover coming for Dog Days.
Awesome. Yeah, they host all the. They're like the on location host for the Bat in the Sun stuff. I know that Aaron from Bat in the Sun has a good relationship with Ed in Collector's Paradise. Oh, cool. So yeah, and they have an amazing pull system. Like if you sign up for their pull list, everything's online, and so you can add and take off your titles on their website. Wow. It's freaking awesome, man. No need. Didn't mean to turn this into a
a commercial. They'll do like suggested pulls where, like, if you read Batman,
right,
they'll be like, we'll put detective in your pull too, and then if you don't want it, you can just say like, oh, I don't want that. Yeah. So like, it's very smart.
Solid. Yeah, and they tell you, yeah, it's just like, I miss that shop, man. It's a great shop, and they work hard. They work hard to please the reader. So
yeah.
Now the not only did the horror variants become something that became a thing for collectors to be hunting down, trying to collect every one, and that's continuing with Dog Days. There are horror variants coming for those, of course, but you guys are also doing Dynamite Stray Dogs covers on a few titles. That was cool to see those start popping up. How did that come up?
I'd done work for Dynamite. I'd done dog comics at Dynamite before. Fans of my early work, Boo, the World's Cutest Dog, might have found their way to Stray Dogs from the Dynamite series, Boo, the World's Cutest Dog. But I knew those guys, like, from having done work with them for years. And Nick Barucci just hit me up. He has sort of like a good radar for when an indie comic blows up, because it's sort of like if you see an Image comic blow up, oftentimes you can look at Dynamite in like a few months and you'll be like, oh, that person, like right now, Merc Andolpha is writing Red Sonja, like you'll just see somebody move over, and Dynamite has a real good nose for sort of emerging talent. Yeah. And they know how to make money. So he was like, well, this book makes money. Let's get some of that. And we were sort of clear that, like, we don't want our rights to be in any way mixed up in anything. So they're dogs covers, not necessarily Stray Dogs covers, but yeah, it was fun to get to draw
the
our
flavor,
dogs.
just
Yeah.
It's
a homage,
right?
more so than a crossover.
Yeah. But I got to have a lot of fun with those dogs too, because it was kind of cool, like on the Vampy cover with that really spicy looking Doberman. He was really cool.
Yeah, and we could do like one-off dogs where, like the Red Sonja cover, I thought Trish did amazing dogs, because there's just all these like cold weather husky dogs and stuff.
As far as the dogs and Stray Dogs, are any of the dogs designed after anybody's real dogs?
Oh yeah,
a bunch of them.
Yeah, a bunch of them. Roxanne is designed after my dog. My dog's name is Eve. She's an Alaskan Malamute. She's 9 years old. She's awesome. If this room were clean, she'd probably be in here right now. But
yeah, Other Henry is based on my ex's dog, and then Killer is based on my buddy Gary's dog, who is producing the Stray Dogs movie. If there's a Stray Dogs movie, he's producing it. He sold the movie basically. So I was like, let me put his dog in here just so that he doesn't forget about this book, and maybe he'll go get us some Hollywood money. And then similarly, Aldo is based on my manager's dog. So yeah, just sort of, those were like very targeted dogs. I was just like, if I put these two people's dogs in here, they will go sell this in Hollywood.
And
Yeah,
that was very cool news to hear too for anyone who was enjoying the series. And I feel like it happened pretty early that the story had been optioned.
Yeah, we sold it before the book even came out.
Wow.
Basically, it
That's
was
amazing.
No. Yeah, I mean, it was basically I had pitched the story before I even told Trish, but like before I even had figured out that Trish was the right person. I was like at Comic-Con, and like BarCon at Comic-Con is either, you know, like schmoozing, or it's like hanging out with your friends who are creative people and just doing like creative bullshitting. And that's the part that I much prefer. Like I'm not very great at schmoozing. I just am like, if I'm talking to somebody who could give me work for too long and they're not talking about giving me work, I'm just like, this seems boring. Like, we both know what we're doing here. But so I'd much rather just sort of like sit around and talk to friends. And I was talking to my friend Gary, who's a screenwriter. He wrote like Stephen King's It and the Annabelle movies. And I told him this idea I had about a dog serial killer thing. And when I got to the twist in it, when Sophie says, you know, your master took my lady, or killed my lady, and then he brought me here, he was like, holy shit, that's crazy. Like, when that's a comic, let me know, because I want to do something with it. And so we wanted to have as much of the book done before we put anything out, just because Trish and I both have like other jobs and stuff, and we didn't want there to be any possibility that the book was late. So the first issue was done for like a year before anything came out.
Wow.
So once the first issue was done, I gave that to my manager and to Gary, and was just like, go do whatever. And then they had sold it to Paramount in July, and then the book came out in February. So yeah, it was way before.
Wow.
Crazy.
Amazing. Wow. What kind of inspiration did you guys look at for the design of what do they call him? Owner, master?
Mm-hmm.
What did you guys look at as far as like what he should look like? Because I think he looks great, you know, unassuming yet at the same time creepy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the description I give him. Unassuming everyman. He could just be anybody, and you know, I just want to and there was a part of me that was just like, this guy just has to look like you could hate him. Like at the end, we really, when we finally see him, you know, you just have to be able to hate his stupid face. And you know,
you did a great job with the stupid face, because he does it just out of all.
He just had to look like.
Yeah,
you know, just anybody. Like he could be your neighbor. He could be anybody.
Yeah, the mirrored square frame glasses, not being able to see his eyes. You know, that was awesome.
Yeah, and I like how we don't see a lot of him through most of the story. You know, you see like kind of the dog level views of him, and it feels sort of like when you watch Seven for the first time and you don't know who the killer is, because you know that back in the time before the internet, no one knew that Kevin Spacey was in the movie, so you didn't know what John Doe looked like. Kind of has that kind of feel. You don't know what the villain looks like.
And how crazy too that like even with Seven, there was a 20-year twist with Kevin Spacey coming later that we know.
Who knew he was a monster?
Fantastic, you know, drawn out suspense.
That's what a twist. Method acting.
We just made that master as plain as possible. Like we looked at like I think like Filmation, like I was always saying like make him like a Filmation background character or something, you know, like just like if you're watching a television cartoon and there's just somebody drawn in the background in the crowd, like you just want to look like that, because it's scarier if he's just a doofus or he's just like a regular shithead, you know?
Yeah. And you know, I've never trusted anybody with those glasses and the tucked in button down with into the pants. Like I've just never, it's made me uneasy since day one. And so the minute I saw, so it's like,
sit around having tucked in shirts at home. That's crazy.
Yeah. What is this guy's deal? Something, and maybe I'm being too deep and nerdy about it, but a question I had when I was getting through the couple of issues, more so towards the end, because that's kind of how you see when you see that forbidden room and you kind of see really what's in there. But the killer, man, Okay, well, we're going spoilers, so I mean, it's not.
Should have read it by now.
I know, right? So he seems the type to collect trophies, right? Now, and I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but it almost feels like, that room that no one's allowed into, it's filled with like the garments and the belongings of things of the victims that he's taken. But then when you really see and read through the end, it makes me think, oh man, the dogs were the trophies, and the dogs were the ones. He was collecting the dogs because at first I'm like, what's the deal with the dogs? Like, why does he take the dogs? And then it really does hit you at the very end when you see, the generations of dogs that he's had, and then what he does to them, to hold on to them even afterwards. And it's like, holy shit, like they're the trophies.
Yeah, you read that exactly correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I love how
just pull those layers away, Onion.
I love how so much played on the memory capability of dogs. We had the situation that even like the very oldest dog who'd been there the longest couldn't possibly believe that the master was a bad guy, because no, I've been here, I don't remember any life before this. And even Sophie, when we meet her, it's the scent of her former owner that triggers that memory in her, but then it fades away, and then she has to get that back again before they can start putting things together.
PTSD, man.
Mm-hmm.
PTSD, great representation of PTSD too.
Well, we didn't dig too deep into it, but we did sort of like the idea of triggers and that sort of thing was important to how the plot was going to play out. I don't know if it was representation so much as like exploitation.
But hey, man, it works either way. Like, it's fantastic as a mechanism, and smells and feels, and the scarf. That really is kind of a universal thing, and it really makes you feel for the character because you see that little glimpse and window of her former life and the love that she had for her owner, and the disgusting depravity of the master. So
it's just what a creep, like he thinks she's cold and
what
shivering, and he's just like, let me put this thing that I murdered your owner with around your neck.
And that's what makes it so good though, is how creepy and how like gross it is that they're really like that. These individuals who are on some weird destructive end of a spectrum, they lack so much empathy, and they don't have those same connections, and so these things are they're just objects, and they have no they have no second meaning, and so
and that was part of keeping the master's face and keeping his story really out of the book. Like, it's not about what his like, we reveal sort of what his deal is through what the dogs discover, but we don't, like, I never thought it was interesting to get into like, why he keeps dogs or what his deal is, because like that's, I don't care. Like, fuck serial killers, they're dumb.
Yeah, we're here for the
dogs. These guys suck. And so it's much more interesting to follow. Like, that's why the movies that people like are like a Zodiac, where you follow the detectives, or like ones where you follow somebody who's like, or like Silence of the Lambs, where it's detectives and victims and stuff. I mean, Silence of the Lambs sort of celebrates the serial killer and more as it goes on, but it was just like having him not be in there was, one, it keeps you in the dog's perspective all the time, and two, you don't have to ever come up with some dumb reason why he wants to steal people's dogs, because and also it's just to let the reader come up with what it is on their own. Like, whatever you come up with what his deal is going to be better than if we told you like, oh, his dad beat him and he took his dog and threw it away, or whatever.
How was the conversation with trying to figure out which characters or which dogs would fit which characters? Because specifically you read this and here's Sophie, such a small, curious dog, yet so brave and like so aware of her surroundings, and just trying to get to the bottom of things. Like, how did that go with the way it's drawn and to fit the characters?
I think Trish would have a good take on what the design of the characters was, but we started before we had what kind of dogs they were or anything. We just had sort of like archetypes. Like there's the final girl, like the main character who starts off afraid and gets brave, and you've got like the alpha dog, and you've got like the sassy dog, and you've got the sympathy dog, and you've got the old dog. And so it's just like these characters that we knew, like because of what the plot was going to be, we need dogs that fit these parts. And then it was sort of like the character designing was almost like casting, right?
Yeah, it was pretty much like casting. We needed a big, we need a big dog that doesn't really do anything until the end. So let's pick the biggest freaking dog we can find. And Imogene, you know, who doesn't love her? She's beautiful. Or we knew like we wanted Sophie to be a smaller dog, a dog that could be kind of sketchy, like scared and skittish at first, and then kind of really comes into her own through the story. And so we picked a Papillon because they're generally not, I mean, I looked into the breed anyway. They're generally not, you know, super sketchy, but or skittish, but they can be. But they're, you know, pretty even dogs actually. But I wanted a small dog, one with a lot of fluff and could be cute.
And yellow, like because
like
the leads in those horror movies are blondes, you know.
Yeah, usually blonde.
or Drew Barrymore. Yeah.
But like we also leaned into the natural colors a lot because, you know, it's easier to relate to them more when they're not fantastic colors, when they're not, you know, cartoon colors. Like you look at a Don Bluth film and, you know, a lot of it's really exaggerated. Like, you know, the colors are saturated, really saturated, less muted. I liked keeping them more down to earth color wise. I think the most fantastic dog we have is Gucci. Like she's pretty like wild design.
She's got pink eyes for sure.
Yeah, she's got pink eyes. She looks like an alien. I love that dog. Yeah. You know, but she's like the most fantastic one. She's got that hair that kind of does that little curl at the back. Never changes. Love it. But yeah, and we wanted a dog that was kind of sassy, but was like an alien. She's like a diva, you know. So we kind of played on some tropes, and we kind of, you know, did some playing with opposites. But yeah, and plus with all the different dogs, you could play with the sizing, which was really cool. And your old dog, you just want one that's got a lot of wrinkles, you know.
No, we had like a lineup of dogs that we just sort of, it started out and it was just like every time Trish would send a sketch, we would sort of like, I would put the sketch into the lineup, and it was sort of like building our Avengers team or whatever, you know. It was just sort of like our lineup, our usual suspects. Kevin Spacey again. And so and sometimes at the beginning, like I said, the dogs that were based on real dogs, like we would just have a photograph in there, like do this dog or do this dog, and then it was just, and then when it finally got done, we have this big long lineup that's all the dogs and all the shapes, and just like even like at the very beginning, just seeing that, I remember I printed it out and put it in my notebook just so when I was outlining and writing stuff, I could just look at the characters and be like, oh, this character fits like this, and you know, like it was really inspiring to have that to look at when I was putting the story together.
That's another part of animation that I loved, was all the development work that could go into making an animated like movie or whatever. So to do this development work for this, it was just kind of like filling that hole in my life that I needed animation for. So we made like a size comparison chart, and you know, just so many sketches and things. I cannot wait until we can finally show them all.
That's awesome.
That'd be cool. Awesome. Now you used the term casting for the different dogs, and that actually leans right into something I wanted to ask about. So over the course of writing a story like this, it seems inevitable that at least at some points you would start to apply a voice to the characters as you're writing them. Would you hear voices for the characters in the story, for the dogs, and who would you cast if you could do the casting? Who would you have voicing these characters? Who did you feel in them as you were?
Gosh, I'm horrible at this. I'm not good at the casting game.
I would hear voice types more than I would hear like a specific. I mean, like the Rusty character, when we first were concepting the idea, it was based on the idea of like the Billy Joel dog in Oliver and Company, just like a cool, confident dog, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we always called him the Billy Joel dog, but I don't think he sounds like Billy Joel so much. Like he sounds like a like a George Clooney or like a like a that sort of like confident.
Your leading man type.
Leading man voice, yeah. I always just say whoever puts the most butts in seats is who I would like to play these dogs.
There you go.
Listen, Rusty is Robert Downey Jr., and then let's move on from there. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's as far into the casting game as I can get.
Who would Sophie be?
I mean,
Chris Pratt.
No, he's everybody. No, he's got like a distinctive. Oh, you know who would be good as like a Roxanne would be like a Jennifer Tilly type.
Oh, like that croony, sultry,
like, sort of a vocal fry-ish.
Yeah. Sophie. So you mentioned Sophie.
Vin Diesel plays Imogene.
Yeah.
It's fine.
He just says woof 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 like Groot.
Yeah, woof
woof woof.
woof.
Or just says family every time.
Woof woof.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what the woof 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 translates to before he pushes the master down the steps.
Yeah.
For family. Oh shit, Tom, you got the job.
Yeah, man. Hey, when that casting comes out, guys, I'm ready to put in my my audition. So just let me know.
Sounds like a professional dog voice actor.
You got a pro microphone already. You're set.
Yeah. You mentioned Drew Barrymore when you were thinking of Sophie. So Drew Barrymore is not. I think is there like a who's a Drew Barrymore? You know, they say that we need a Drew Barrymore type.
Yeah.
And instead of getting Drew Barrymore, they say we need a Drew Barrymore type. That's so funny. I love how they say that.
Like a
she's really hot right now. I mean, she's like hot as in like she's like the person right now. She was in what's the movie where M. Night Shyamalan eventually he joined the universes of Unbreakable and then also
you're talking about Anna Taylor-Joy?
Is that her? Is that her name?
Queen's Gambit, the one from Switch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if she has a very specific voice.
I can't think of her voice, but I know that she's like the it girl right now.
What's
or
the
one
girl
of.
that's in Only Murders in the Building and Spring Breakers?
Oh my God.
Selena Gomez.
Yes, Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez.
Yeah, she's got a cool voice.
Google Selena Gomez, Totally in Control of Me. It's this like 60-year-old man who's obviously has some sort of something wrong with him, unfortunately. However, he'd made videos of how he's obsessed with Selena Gomez, and you can tell that he types out his script and he reads it from the script. It's like a 10-minute video. Selena Gomez, totally in control of me? Yes, and I'll tell you why. And he goes.
I'm excited to watch this.
Well, that's the same things you send us about Demi Lovato, Tom.
Oh, Demi Lovato, man, Demi.
I guess what creeps me out about this guy is that this video is from 2011.
Did you look it up already?
Oh man,
yeah.
You looked it up already?
Must have been like 14 in 2011.
So that guy, that guy for the master.
Sure. Yeah. He's
that guy. Look what he's wearing, right? And he's got does he have the glasses in that video?
He's got the glasses too. His teeth are way grosser than the master's teeth. That's just because we didn't really draw that detail.
But I mean, he's got the elements of it right there. So
yikes.
I gotta watch this video.
Well, thank you for that.
You gotta watch it, guys. You gotta watch the video. Trust me, it's you're gonna have a lot of questions. So.
I already do.
First of all, why? There's a lot of questions. First of all, how dare you?
Oh man, when did you guys when was the moment when you realized or heard how big of a hit the book was? Like, where were you, and what was your reaction?
Well, I think when the first issue first came out, I did take the day off of my day job, and I went to the comic book shop, and I was like, "Look how cool I am!" You know,
that's awesome. You have to
take the picture in front of the display,
yeah. How'd that
and I'm
feel?
standing in line talking to the shop, the person at the shop, and I get text from Tony. You know, they want to do a second printing. You know,
wow.
I think that was what we were already doing already. It was already going to a second print, like the first day.
Yeah, first day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm like standing in line and I'm like, huh, quietly freak out. I went out to my car and I'm like, oh God, so beautiful. I don't know what else to do. I didn't know what else to do. So then I went to another shop, and of course that one's more local to my house. So I just kind of that's not when I knew it was like a huge hit. Like I just thought, this is great. This is way better than our expectations were. And then like around issue 3, when I thought we would lose literally half of what we had as an audience, like I thought people would just be like, "We're done with you.
How dare you?
None. How dare you? The audacity!" And then
Why?
leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we only really had like one kind of sketchy review from issue 3 that I remember seeing. But then after that, it was just all couldn't keep them on the shelves. People were trying to find us so that they could get copies from us. It was, or me anyway. We got a Facebook group. It's just been bananas. Bananas.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, but when the book came out, like the numbers were pretty good for like we were always just like we've never done an image book before. People only know us from My Little Pony, so our expectations weren't enormous. But then the original numbers were really good because we did a lot of work beforehand, like talking to retailers, and like, I went to this retailer summit, and like we sent packages to all sorts of retailers with posters and previews and all kinds of stuff. And so we had sort of done the work, but I'd done that before, and you sold like 300 copies of a thing. It just sort of is. It's like the luck of the draw sometimes. But the day the first issue came out, like I was all of a sudden just like I got like a DM from like Scott Snyder was like, "Hey, can you send me the rest of the Stray Dogs? Because I want to read like the rest of this thing." And I was like, "Oh, that's different." Like, that's not something I expect. I don't know that person.
Yeah. And
then it was like the book was doing good, and like there's the first issue sells something, and then you'll usually lose a certain percentage for the second issue, which we did. And Trish was just like, "Well, this is no good. Like, I thought we sold that number."
Like,
yeah, that's inevitable.
I was like losing my mind.
But then from there when we
got the numbers for number 2, I'm like,
yeah. Trish was in a state.
I was.
But from there, we added every issue, which normally it continues to fall off. But issue 3 sold more than 2, and 4 sold more than 3, and 5 sold more than 4. Yeah. And then in between there, like we started having to reprint. And the day that I knew it was a big success was that when we did those final printings, like it was successful already. Like it was good. Like this has been a profitable endeavor. This worked out. People read it, like this has gone well. But then we did those final printings, and we sold like 167,000 comics in one day.
Fuck.
And that was completely unexpected, and just like
that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, this is a different thing than what we thought.
Yeah. You were just pumping up, like keep on pumping these printings with these amazing covers. Like I'm looking now, I have.
Let's see a couple, Dunk. Why don't you show us a couple?
I have here's the fifth
printing. Hold on. That is a
fifth.
Beautiful Dracula.
Yeah, so this is the 5th printing of issue 1.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. That's
and then my favorite one was the Crow one, and I think that was a 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 for the 5th print.
1 in 10.
1 in 10, yeah.
Very nice.
They were all facing butts for obvious reasons.
There you go. Nice.
Here's another one.
Hang on one second.
Yeah, that's Audition.
Oh, yeah. Audition.
Yeah, that was
my local comic book shop loved that cover.
It's one of those ones where, like, unless it's very few people know what it is, but when they know, they're like, "Holy shit! I can't believe somebody did that."
Yeah, that's one of the cool
things. That
guy
got everything that he deserved.
That's one of the cool things was watching customers come in each time another one of these movie variants was out, and people seeing it every day on the shelf going, "Oh, which one's this? What movie was this? Oh, it's this. Oh, yeah, that's it."
Nerds.
Yeah, this is actually one. I have multiple copies of this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
That cover was amazing.
Love that movie. When he first wakes up in the hospital, and he sees the first zombie and he throws something at it, and he goes, "I shouldn't have done it." But his accent is so strong. When I first heard it, I'm like, "Did he just say I'm shitting a donut?" Shouldn't have done it. Shouldn't have done it.
Cillian Murphy.
The Craft. Questionable whether or not it counts as a horror movie. I count it. It's got witches.
a horror
Spooky.
movie.
It's a spooky movie.
Yeah.
Let's go spooky. We can just say spooky.
Oh, that's another one. So I
I think spoopy, the kids say now.
You thought Dunk was joking, but no, he really did just go all out on these covers.
All of them.
And then at Baltimore, I picked up
Baltimore.
Bird City.
Oh, yeah,
right?
man. I think that's my favorite.
I remember that I was standing in line like 3 hours before Baltimore Comic Con opened. I was with Risley, and he's like, "Yo, you have to get this cover," and I was like, "Yeah, I do." Okay, so they gave you this map before you walked in, and it's like, "All right, cool. I have to walk straight 2 aisles, walk across 6, get this comic book, go over 2, and go straight to Trish." And that's exactly
nice.
what I did.
So you grabbed it and then you got it signed.
I ran a route. Yeah,
isn't that nice?
What was the line like when you got there?
Well, I think Trish, you were pretty surprised with your line. There was
it was busy the whole time. It was crazy.
That's
I've never
great.
seen anything
That's
like
awesome.
that before.
Yeah, I
Never.
Good for you.
My first day, I got this done.
Hang on.
Yeah, little tiny Sophie remark.
Yeah,
Cool.
I had to get
so
that. Get some open space for you, Tony.
Okay.
And then the second day, later on the same day, I went back and got my friend a sketch. But then, as I'm standing in line, I was like, you know what? The back of this book is blank. I need a butt.
Light bulb.
I got a butt on that book.
So Saturday morning, I ran back in line. I got a Sophie
There
butt.
it is. Genius.
Does it line up?
It does.
Does it? Yeah.
Listen to you.
I think I tried to line it up a little bit.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Close enough.
Yeah. So
It would have worked better if like her front feet were like on there a little bit.
Hey, don't critique yourself. It was busy. It was a convention. You did fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm so happy with that, and so is everyone in the group as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they loved it. That was the joke the whole rest of the weekend was to
I kept on walking by, and I was like, "You're drawing butts tomorrow."
That's awesome.
Draw butt remarks.
Dunk, you mentioned that there were some questions.
Yes. So, you guys are part of this wonderful group, the Stray Dogs and Good Boy comic community. And I got a couple of questions there. I know, Trish, you probably cheated, and so you.
No, I didn't. I didn't have time. I didn't have time to go cheat.
So I'm gonna ask a couple of questions from some of the people in the group, and I'm pretty sure you're used to some of these names.
Speaking of good boys, we got a
good boy.
We got a cameo. We got a cameo right now.
This is the real star.
There you go.
This is who we came to interview. So, how do you like your pets?
Yeah. How do you do on the book?
I like to appear with the dog just so people know that I'm not an actual monster.
That master is not based on you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't even wear glasses anymore. Okay.
He's like, put me down now.
Okay.
I said no cameras.
I've made my appearance.
Questions.
So yeah, in this group we got a good amount of questions. The first question, of course, is from Doc. Is there any future collaborations with the three of you, with Trish, Tony, and Tone, that you guys are aware about or could talk about?
I mean, beyond Dog Days, we're so busy with that right now. We don't have anything planned, but I'm definitely thinking about what the next thing would be.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm pretty
and
sure.
I'm on board, I'm sure.
That's awesome. The next one is Nick. Any Nightmare on Elm Street covers in the works?
I don't think so. It was real difficult because of Freddy's glove, and it's like a trademarked glove, you know. And, and we don't have ever on those covers. We don't have dogs holding things, and we don't have them wearing things. So like, sweater doesn't really work, and the hat doesn't really work. So it's just like really difficult to do a Freddy cover.
Just making sure
So
there's no like licensing issues.
There's one that they sent us a sketch of, because there's going to be just a ton of retailer covers for Dog Days. They sent us a Freddy sketch and we sent it back with notes, and I don't know what's going on with it. So there may be one, but I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Next is Shane, and we kind of touched base on this. Is like any movement with Paramount Pictures on movies or shows in the works? Have you heard anything else besides after selling the?
Yeah, no, we get updates and stuff, but there's nothing to report as of right now whether or not it's going to be a real thing or not. We'll know early next year. That's how long the option runs for. So
cool. A lot of us are excited for that. Like personally, after reading it, I'm like, I can't wait to see this on the screen. Like it's definitely there. The footprints are there for that.
Well, we know that they've been
the paw prints.
We know that they've been sort of paying attention to how the book is done, and sort of like when there's been like excitement or anything cool happens with the comic, like we know that sort of makes its way to Paramount. Like they're watching. So the book doing as well as it did, I think, definitely has not hurt the prospects. For the movie.
Built-in audience, you can't really lose. So
yeah. Next up is Cynthia. When are you guys going to be in Chicago? And I'll add to that. Are any of you going to be at C2E2?
When is C2E2?
It's in December, right?
Second week of December.
Oh my God.
Oh no, second week of December. I've got a tiny show in Ocean City, Maryland.
Yeah, I'm not going to be at C2E2. I've got work. I mean, I'll be working.
But yeah, and also work. And also work.
Am I going to Chicago at all next year? I don't know.
When is LA Comic Con? Are you planning on going to that, Tony?
I'm going to be at that one. Yeah.
Okay.
That's early in December. Also,
that's
it's
the
like
first week of December. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the 7th or something.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll be at that. I'll have Stray Dog stuff there.
Sweet.
I think I just saw like an email about it.
Good time. Are you going to LA Comic-Con?
I'm going to try to go. Yeah. It's probably going to be the first con I've gone to in 2 years.
I'll have to send some things to you.
They're doing a weird thing at LA Comic-Con where, because of COVID protocols, you buy your ticket for like a portion of the day, and then they empty out the hall, and then they bring in another small group. So instead of having one small group for all day long, you can be at you get a pass for part of the day.
Oh, okay, I get you. So it's like you buy certain hours.
Yeah, because they're not doing full capacity, so they're letting people in for small groups for part of the day. I have no idea how that's going to work. It seems like it's going to be a shit show.
Yeah, kind of like a Disney Fast Pass, I guess.
Yeah, I think so, maybe. Yeah. Well, at least, I guess so you're not smelling everybody's farts. I guess that's okay.
Oh, we'll smell farts no matter what.
Yeah. Mask on, mask off. You're screwed. Yeah. The next question is, and this is actually a really good question. Mandy, she asks, would you sign another artist or writer's book if it's a homage to your work?
Sure.
What was that? I missed the end of that question.
It's okay. Would you sign another artist or writer's book if it's a homage to your work?
So, if somebody did a Stray Dogs homage cover or some sort of Stray Dogs.
I got a little something for that. Somebody brought their copy of Rainbow Bridge, and they wanted me to sign it, and I was like, "We didn't do anything with this book. It's a cute book. It's a good story. I love it." But so I drew a remark on it, and then I signed the remark.
There you go.
Oh, okay. There's a good solution. I just saw that very same copy of that Rainbow Bridge. So they brought it to me to sign yesterday. And I was just like, what is this? But I like that book, but I didn't draw this.
I guess
it's
it would make sense if it's a character that you guys did, or if it's a tribute cover or something to the book. But I like what you did, Trish. You found the loophole in the system, and that's how you got to do it. And that's why you're a professional. To be honest with you.
Well, I just decided on the fly. I'm going to make a little tiny corgi remark.
Boom.
And then
but Trish, I kind of asked you to do the same thing. I had a something that's kind of the children's blank cover, and then I asked for the Sophie.
Oh yeah, something is killing.
Something's killing the owners.
Sophie
Oh, that's
Slaughter.
cool. That's awesome. That's genius.
It just made sense. So we had so Sean over at the group. He had a good amount of questions. I don't want to ask the first one because that's negative. When Dog Days ends, can we expect any dog-related books in the future? I think you kind of answered that. Maybe you guys will work on something going forward.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be dogs or not. I mean, it seems like it would be stupid to not do dogs again, but also like I feel like we sort of have
We'll
said,
get typecast.
yeah, we've
typecast.
Well,
we've sort of made our
you
statement on
were
dogs for
already
now.
the dog guy, you know, like you did that Battle Pug cover. And...
Yeah, I did Boo the World's Cutest Dog.
Yeah.
I mean, I just got finished being a pony guy for 10 years, so I.
You're happy to kind of go wherever else
across
Oh, that's what Andy called my booth at Baltimore Comic Con, was the actual dog and pony show.
Yeah.
So even if it's not a dogs thing, but you guys plan on collaborating still in the future.
Yeah, at some point for sure.
Awesome, cool.
Okay.
We're working on collaborating right now at this point, and then we'll see what future collaboration looks like once we get
Keep
there.
Keep the team together. Why not? It's been
Yeah.
working.
It'd be like one of those old band back together situations. You know, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
But you're still in your prime, though. Still in the prime.
Yeah.
Another great question from Sean was favorite horror movies.
Horror is not necessarily my genre, if you can believe it. I like spooky movies, but not gory movies.
Mm-hmm.
So, or like I like more mental, like I guess
suspense.
Yeah, so up here.
Mm-hmm.
Mess with me up here. Don't show me all the blood guts. That's not appealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but I know all your, like, you know, your classics, your Freddy's, even though it's gory as hell. That movie traumatized me when I was a kid. So, you know.
What's your favorite spooky movie?
Oh gosh.
Or give me a list if you can't pick just one.
Top 5.
Throw me on the spot, I guess.
Well, what did you get into the spirit for during Halloween? Like, what did you throw on?
I literally did nothing for
How dare you.
Halloween. I was drawing dogs, man.
Yeah, quit distracting her.
Yeah.
I'm going to derail it right here. One thing that I forgot to mention, I've noticed that in interactions with people on Twitter, you use, like I do, a lot of Office GIFs as replies. Are you an Office fan?
Yes.
Yes, good. Thank you.
I like funny things. I like things that make me laugh. What We Do in Shadows, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. It's spooky and
Both.
funny.
Yeah.
It kind of gets the Office itch, like you kind of scratch the Office itch, and then you kind of, you know, it's a little spooky. I love it.
That could be another idea, like a dog book on like funny stuff. I don't know.
Situational comedy.
Yeah.
Situational comedy. Yeah, I use a lot of GIFs to reply to people, mostly The Office. It's relatable to me.
Yeah.
And
I do that at work, and it's like I kind of get in trouble sometimes, but then it's like, guys, everyone's laughing. Leave me alone.
Look at you. That's what you do.
Another question Sean had was best costumes you dressed up as in Halloween.
I didn't dress up as anything this year. In previous years, like one year I went to Disney World. I have this full mascot getup of the character I designed. Like big head, puffy hands, and all that business. And
you wore it to Disney World?
I wore it to Disney World before they started cracking down on all the you can't wear, you know, full mask and all that business.
Yeah.
I didn't
Like
get
an
on
interloper.
anything. Yeah, I didn't get on any rides. I took a lot of pictures with people, and as soon as it got too hot, which was almost instantly, off, because you know it was during the Halloween party, so they were a little bit more lax about that stuff.
That was your favorite one, your best one.
You know, but yeah, that was that best costume.
How about you, Tony?
But I have a bunch. I have like an Indiana Jones costume. I, you know, Chunk from Goonies. I used to do that all the time.
I haven't dressed up in a while, but I had a good run going in my 20s. One year I dressed up as Papa Smurf. Or no, I think I was just a Smurf. I don't think I had the beard. Maybe I had a beard. But I basically just didn't wear a shirt and painted my whole body blue, and then I just wore like white sweatpants and a white hat. And then that was disgusting. Like I was just chipping blue paint everywhere in at the party I was at. And then like towards the end of the night, I just we're drinking, and I sort of didn't have any inhibition, so I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna just go take a shower. So I was just at a friend's house, and I just went and took a shower in their shower, and just left this disgusting blue ring around the whole.
That's a good friend.
Shower, yeah. And then that same couple, the next year, they had a baby, and I came to Halloween as their baby. Or like I made a printed T-shirt that had like a picture of them, and it said "Mommy and Daddy," and I just wore like an adult diaper, and was there as their baby. So
That's pretty awesome.
But not for many years.
Awesomely creepy.
Yeah,
So
it was creepy.
One of the better questions I think Sean asked was, how early is too early to start playing Christmas music?
It's too early now. I'm not ready.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm completely ready. Tone's here. He's been playing Christmas music just while we draw. He's in this Christmas spirit already. And I got to start watching my Rankin and Bass movies, because if you don't start those in like November, you're not going to get through them all in December.
Next one is, what is your least favorite animal to draw?
I like to draw animals. I don't know if I have a least favorite animal to draw.
What could take too long, or movement?
Yeah, I like drawing animals a lot too. Like that's a tough one. I like cats all right.
Yeah, I like cats all right. Dogs.
I like dinosaurs. I had to draw a dinosaur skeleton recently. That was complicated. I didn't like that as much. It would have been much easier if it had skin.
Now, a least favorite subject to draw would be anything that has to be mechanical. I am not like into mechanical things.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, if it looks like it has to function as a robot or like a car or anything.
Yeah, I used to have ponies that I didn't like drawing as much as other ponies, because some of them were just more difficult. But just specific animals, I think I like drawing all of them. I don't have I guess it's harder to draw really big ones, just because to fit them into a situation is more difficult. Like we did My Little Pony Transformers, and it was difficult because the Transformers are so giant and the ponies are so small, and so to figure out the scale of that and do compositions that made any sense was pretty annoying.
Wow.
That's true. If I had to pick a situation where I don't like drawing animals, it's when we're trying to squeeze 11 dogs into one panel.
That's what's been good about the book we're working on now with Dog Days, is that we're doing solo stories on each of the dogs. So they're very few and far between are there times where there's a whole bunch of dogs together. It's just one dog at a time, or one or two dogs at a time. So we've been trying to take it a little bit easier on Trish, but the hard part is now they're all in different settings and different situations. So the backgrounds are more varied and more complicated.
That's actually like a question I had, so thank you for answering that beforehand. I was like really excited to see if we could hear like some backstories on these dogs. Another question is, of course, because we had this horror theme, was your favorite serial killer? I don't know if you could answer that. Like, do you really have a favorite serial killer? But what story interests you the most when it comes to like serial killers?
I would just watch a bunch of like a movie about Richard Speck. Who's more of like a spree killer. He's the one that in Chicago went into that nurse's dormitory and just killed eight nurses in one night. But it was like he was only a spree killer because of opportunity. Like you would have called him a serial killer if he hadn't just stumbled upon like a building full of nurses.
Yeah.
I again, like I said, they're all stupid assholes. So he's not my favorite by any means, but it was definitely interesting. Like it's sort of like a car crash or something. Like you slow down to watch it and see how fucked up it is,
or see if you know the person.
Right? Yeah.
That doesn't make you a car crash connoisseur because you slow down to look.
I just read the Ed Gein graphic novel that Eric Powell did, and that's an all-star serial killer for sure. Like he's Psycho, he's Silence of the Lambs,
Texas Chainsaw.
Texas Chainsaw, yeah.
How about you, Trish? Do you have one?
No,
Like,
I don't really. I'm not one of those people who follows the serial killers.
Trish is a nice lady.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah,
your
that was
favorite
my first
serial
description.
killer?
That was Tony's. Yeah, my favorite serial killer is the one in this book because he doesn't
There you go.
exist.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, but my first the first description Tony had of me on any podcast was, "This is a nice lady. I hope she says yes to drawing my book."
I would always think of her that way, because like we've talked a lot more now and sort of interact. We do podcasts where we get on the phone a lot, and so like we know each other pretty well now. But when we're working on the book, especially when stuff would start to get really messed up, I was just like, oh man, I gotta tell this nice lady that we gotta draw this. Like how's that gonna go over?
Meanwhile, I'm sitting there with my glass of wine, staring at the final pages of issue 3, like, oh, am I really gonna do this? Am I really gonna do this? Gulp. Yes. Let's go.
At issue 3. I only have a few more. Sean also wrote, was it always going to be Victor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean, that was an easy answer.
Shortest answer. Yes.
Let's keep it that way.
Then, what is the last comic or graphic novel you read that made you cry?
Do you have one, Trish?
No, I don't really cry at these things.
Heartless.
Come on, issue 3. You could reread this.
I mean, issue 3. Issue 3 that got a lot of people. But even I had been so desensitized to it only because I had the script and everything for so long. It was just like we knew that was coming, so I could brace for it. Anyway, that was just on me. But I don't have one that I cried at.
I think Paper Girls might have got me. No, Paper Girls definitely did. I remember exactly when. But the first one, the one that I always think about is issue 6 or 7 of Stray Bullets. It's the Virginia Applejack story where her dad dies and she's left alone with like her horrible family. And it's just the art in it is so amazing, and like the storytelling and that part of it is so amazing. It's just like if I look at it now, I'll well up because it's just so well done and so like powerful. Like it's just David Lapham draws Stray Bullets all in like an 8-panel grid pretty much. So it's just these small, 8 panels on a page, panels of this girl chasing after an ambulance. And then you turn the page and it's this huge splash of the ambulance driving away. It's just like, it's amazing.
You're like,
super good. You haven't read Stray Bullets.
End the interview. I don't want to start crying.
And then the last question we actually got was from Doc, our friend Doc. Did PETA ever reach out to you for a join ad campaign?
No.
Wouldn't that be amazing though? That's a really good question because that'd be pretty fun to do. Like,
well, I've got something that kind of leads into that. Virgil Ocampo from the Stray Dogs group, he works with the Show Your Soft Side campaign here in Baltimore. That is an organization that works to help homeless animals or like give animals a new lease on life. Like a lot of people don't like pit bulls because they say they're mean, dogs are scary, they're bred to hurt, blah blah blah. So it's kind of like people who own these dogs, mostly sports celebrities and local celebrities, take pictures and they do ad campaigns to draw awareness to that sort of thing. Where these animals, don't be mean to them, they're just animals. Like,
yeah,
don't
dogs are great.
Dogs are great. Don't be a monster.
Well, one of my closest friends has a pit bull, and and of course, she brought the pit bull over one day, and she said, "You got to put the pit bull here for a while," and I'm like, "Your dog's not going to bite me," and she's like, "No, you don't understand." And I was like, "No, your dog's feeding off of your energy. I'll let your dog roam around my apartment. It's okay." And she was like, "What if it bites you?" It's not. It's all about dogs feed off other people's energy, and the dog was walking around and smelling things around. And after like 15 minutes, the dog sits next to me. I have a couch in front of me. My friend's sitting there, and her dog's laying down next to me. And I was like, your dog's over here laying down. She's like, oh my God, how did that happen? I was like, you have to understand dogs. Like, they're
Gravity.
not. I'm tired. I've been sniffing stuff for the last 15 minutes. No, it was just like, I'm not trying to force myself on your dog. I'm just minding my own business. And your dog's doing whatever dogs do. And just, don't worry about your dog. You're fine. And it's a pretty big pit bull. At first, I was like, I fucked up. But then it was like, no, I'm fine. Like, and her dog
just
loves
be
me.
chill with. You can learn a lot about people. I always say that you can learn a lot about people based on how they treat animals. So if you're, scared all the time of an animal and you encounter it, it's probably going to feed off of that vibe and not vibe with you.
You're scared.
I mean, there's
They're
plenty
going
of
to be
reasons
scared.
to be scared of certain animals, of course, but
Oh, look. Yo, Doug, you've got Mark Dos Santos prints right behind you there, right? Hanging up in the background behind that
massive statue.
Yeah, behind that statue. That's my buddy. He used to live in this house with me.
Oh, really?
Like in this room that I'm in right now. His drawing table used to be right there.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he might have drawn that here.
That is sick.
Whoa.
Crossover.
Another bat connection.
Nice.
But I just want to end with everyone there's a Facebook group that Tony and Trish are in, the Stray Dogs and Good Boy comic community. There's Doc who runs it. It's a great group. It's a fun group. A lot of exclusives are launched in there. A lot of comic shops sell their exclusives through there, and it's a very fun community. We share dog pics. It's a good time. If you come across this group, feel free to join. Doc, you didn't ask me to do this, but I'm doing it for you. So thank you guys for participating and submitting those questions for this podcast.
Yeah, thanks, group.
That's awesome. Thanks, group.
Okay, before we let you guys get back to real life, so as we talked about a little bit at the top, so Dog Days is coming up December 29th, I think. Tell us what to expect from the 2 issues of Dog Days.
You want me to do it, Trish?
Yeah, I was gonna say you picture me.
Okay.
Listen, you love these characters in the Stray Dog series. Get ready to spend a little bit more time with them. It's just individual stories for the characters we didn't get to spend a lot of time on while we were telling Stray Dogs. Since it's so fast. Like Stray Dogs is so fast, so we'll slow down, take a minute, appreciate each character that we met along the way, and tell a story.
Yeah, when we pitched the book to Image originally, we said this is the story. It takes place in 5 issues. This is the plot. But then because it moves so fast, and there's some of these dogs that maybe they only say 1 or 2 things in the whole book, and if the book is hello. What are you doing? You want to come up here? If the book is successful, we want to go back and do like a special or like a couple of specials where we get to focus on all these other dogs and sort of give each one of these dogs, because we we loved them so much when we were making it and we were coming up with these characters that like it would be cool to show like some of them where they came from, or like other stories that happened inside the world of this book. Oh, all right.
Doing the show.
He likes the pitch.
yeah, he came over to approve a page. It's just I describe it as sort of like the Lord of the Rings extended edition of Stray Dogs, where it's like the story is in 1 through 5, and then if you want to know more about these characters, pick up Dog Days. There's like stories that are scary, and there's stories that are funny, and there's stories that are sad, and stories that are happy. So it's just sort of like a way to get to do other stories with these characters outside of the confines of the mystery in the Stray Dogs miniseries.
Was that part of what happened on Free Comic Book Day? The one issue?
Yeah.
Free Comic Book Day story is sort of like a good idea of what Dog Days stuff is like. but that one was with the first dog that ever went to the master's house. So
Yeah.
it was just sort of like that one is a different dog. This one is all dogs that we know from the book, but you'll see that dog and you'll see the first generation dogs, and it's just sort of like a way
That's
to get
awesome.
to fill in a lot of blanks.
Cool.
And
I think-
that is December 29th. Anything else
December
we
29th and then January 27th or something like that.
I think it would be awesome to find out what happens to these dogs after the fact too. Like,
we got a little bit afterwards, but that's also a thing that we thought was like just the same way as the master is more awful based on you filling in the blanks. Like whatever happened to these dogs is happier, or depending on like what kind of outlook you have, like depending on how you fill in the blank. So
yeah.
And also, like, just don't know how interesting it would be to just do like, here's Roxanne at home with a loving family. Like,
but then yet they all still meet at the dog park. I don't know. Like,
right. Well, we did that at the end for sure, just to sort of and left that open-ended too, where you can sort of decide whether or not they remember each other, or like what they still know and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
That's awesome.
Anything else we need to hit on before we let these two get back to their real lives?
No, just make sure you guys, if you haven't, I mean, I'm sure most of the people probably have heard something, but if you haven't picked up Stray Dogs, check it out. It's an awesome story. You're missing out if you haven't checked it out.
Yeah, pick up the trade. You don't have to pick up the issues. If you can find them, find them.
Yeah, if you can find them.
Keep them. But just pick up the trade. It's a quick, easy read. The art's amazing. You feel for the dogs. You become one with this community, and follow the Facebook group.
Yeah, come hang out on the Facebook group if you dig the book. We'd like to think of it as like a good entry, like a gateway comic as well. Like you don't have to know anything about comics or about it, any image or superheroes or anything like that. Like you could just hand this to anybody, hopefully, and they'll be able to figure out what's up.
Great stocking stuffer for the holidays.
Absolutely.
And can ease you into all the other, there's a plethora of animal comics that are happening right now. I don't know if you would say that Stray Dogs is helping inspire this, but there's, like the Good Boy is coming.
I noticed
Animal
that
Castle is coming.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're
started something
too early to have inspired. Like anything that comes out, after this point, I'll think like maybe.
Yeah.
But I feel like Good Boy and those, they had to be in the works already.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. But check out Stray Dogs. Check out Dog Days. Thank you so much, Tony and Trish. Have a great night.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And
Thanks for
thank you
making
everyone
time.
for listening. And we will see you next time.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
These are
you.
great questions.
Have a good night.
Okay.
Good night.
Take care.